Welcome back, everyone. We're going live on Monday night. Going over some like Xander Bogaerts stuff today. There's not really a lot going on. Waiting for the Padres to make a big splash. They end up doing and having the big splash in Xander Bogaerts, and now everyone's just kind of looking around, kind of like, all right, what are we going to do next? Who are the Padres going after? They don't get Senga. They don't get Bassett. He's probably the last arm that's available. Now, this morning, apparently, Fernando Tatis trade rumors, even really much legitimacy to that. There's also kind of the element of what's going to happen with Jackson Merrill. So we got a lot of stuff to unpack today, but there's not really a whole in terms of like rumors and stuff outside of Tatis and then Jackson Merrill, who it's not really like, is he like a trade rumor, but more like, is there a future spot on this team for him? So Isaac, we'll be going over some of this stuff today, but let's kick off with these Fernando Tatis trade rumors. As we know, the New York Yankees on Twitter were talking a bunch about, hey, is Fernando we should trade for? And just so everyone knows, this is going to be something that we're going to experience all offseason. Because the Padres have Xander Bogaerts and they have all these guys that can play in the infield, every single team's going to talk about, hey, is Fernando Tatis a guy that we can buy low on and trade for? So for all the teams listening, other teams, fans listening, Fernando Tatis is not going to get traded. He's just going to get traded. It's just not going to happen. For the Padres side, it makes absolutely no sense to trade him. I get you can look at it and go, okay, Fernando Tatis, like there's all these issues that we have, and now we have all these shortstops. You look at it from the lens, but also look at it from a different lens. What would the Padres gain from trading Fernando Tatis? They're trying to build around a 22 to 23-year-old core with him and Soto. That's kind of their younger core. And then you got Bogaerts and Machado as the vets under these big deals. But it doesn't really make much sense for the Padres to do that. It really doesn't make any sense at all. So is he going to get traded to the Yankees? Is he going to get traded anywhere? No. I would put it at a 0% chance that it happens. I will say that I think there is a larger chance that the Pittsburgh Pirates win the World Series next season than Fernando Tatis getting traded this offseason. I think it's that unlikely. So what are you thinking, Isaac?
I mean, yeah, that sounds about right. It's so stupid to hear that any Fernando Tatis Jr. rumors going around about him being traded. You got to take him with a grain of salt. I mean, it's the off season. Everybody just wants to get something to talk about. I feel like it happens every year. There's somebody big that gets talked about that everyone knows. All right, this guy's not getting traded. What do we get? Like you said, what do we gain out of trading Fernando? You know how many prospects they would have that the Yankees would have to give us, what they would have to give us in order to get Fernando, and I can guarantee none of those players would turn out to be Fernando. None of them. So, and they're saying, eat the money. They'd have to eat money, this and that. I saw the dumbest thing. I saw someone said we could probably give them Volpe, Donaldson, IKF, and somebody else. And it's just ridiculous what these Yankees fans offer, man. I can't believe it. Granted, they're Yankees fans. We've come to expect it. They're horrendous. They're awful, horrible baseball fans. But now, Fernando's not leaving. I mean, everyone knows Fernando's not leaving. These rumors need to get put to rest. And then you see bigger names like Fuzzy start talking about it. I just can't believe it. It seems like everyone forgot that this guy was a guy that was being discussed as being as good as valuable as Shohei Ohtani, as good as Mike Trout, one of the most talented player in baseball, the most electrifying player in baseball. Like, how quick was it to forget? It was just last year. It wasn't that long ago. Go check the highlights. It's impressive what this guy does. He puts up a 7 WAR in his sleep. He did it in 130 games with a separated shoulder. 7 WAR on a separated shoulder. And people think we're just going to give that up for scraps, for the scraps that we would probably get offered. Everyone knows that. Let's say a hypothetical trade, what not was to happen, but is possible. Everyone knows that you'd be giving him up at his lowest value, off steroids, off a motorcycle accident, off 3 surgeries. Like, what's the point of that? You're only going to have to pay him like $7 million next year. Everyone, Fernando's not getting traded. I feel like I don't really got to say much about that. I don't know where the rumors came from. They obviously did not come out of San Diego. There's just no way that that anyone here actually thinks he's going to get traded, they're coming from the bigger markets saying like, hey, what if he is on the market? Like I've seen Dodgers people talk about it, coincidentally. I've seen the Yankees obviously today talk about it. Like it's so funny how everyone goes from hating him and now everybody wants him. Everybody forgave him already. Like just because it doesn't make sense. We're not trading him. He's staying in a Padres uniform. That's that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I just always think it's funny because like I knew that was gonna happen, and I knew that right when they signed Xander Bogaerts, I think there was a big account on Padres Twitter that tweeted out, and they're basically like, look, Tatis is not gonna get traded. You're gonna hear a bunch about this for a long time. Expect that to happen, and then of course it's like, hey, could we buy low on Tatis? No,
Jesus
bro, that
Christ.
makes no sense. It makes no sense at all on the Padres side. So yeah, there's not a chance that Fernando gets traded. Now, I will say, like, if something really bad happened where it was almost a repeat of what last year looked like, then I think they would consider entertaining offers. But they're not going to do it right now. It seems like Fernando's already came out and said, like, I'm willing to kind of play wherever. And he's just kind of he's looking to have a huge bounce back season, which honestly I think is probably terrifying for every other team in the league because it's like, yeah, look, they just added all these guys. They just made it to the NLCS. They had a couple really bad back end pitchers that are not a part of this team anymore. We'll see what the Padres do with that. We'll talk a little bit about that later with like trades and some potential starter options. But they kind of look at that, and then you go, and on top of it, didn't have Fernando Tatis Jr. last year, and he is basically in a prove it season this year after having shoulder issues and having all that kind of stuff just repaired. So he's probably going to have a pretty insane season. I've seen people talk about Fernando saying like, hey, it's probably going to take him a little bit while to get going. Why? Like he has all of spring training to get going. Like, and I get he's going to have the 20 games off or whatever, but it's not like he's coming back off an injury like where he's been, been out, not able to move anything for months in the prior 2 months in what was 20, where he kept coming back. And then it was like, yeah, he would have slow starts coming back from injury. That's because he hasn't played. He hasn't swung a bat. You know what I mean? Like it was a lot different than having a full off season of preparing and everything. I don't really think that we're going to see Fernando like struggle early on. Like I guess maybe it can happen a little bit or whatever, like in terms of like a regular slump. But I don't think it's going to be like, oh, it's going to take him a while to come back from injury. I think we're going to see Fernando balling from the start of the season. So I don't know. I'm pumped. There's not a chance that Fernando gets traded, but we of course had to bring that up because we haven't got to talk about this enough in the past year and a half or so. So this is no, we're keeping him. That's kind of the memo from us here. But with this Xander Bogaerts trade, we have another guy that's kind of in a spot where it's like, oh, is this guy going to get moved? Because you see it from the outside for Fernando Tatis. Well, internally, a lot of Padres fans are wondering, is Jackson Merrill going to get moved? Does he not have a spot on this team? Isaac, do you think there's a chance that do you think there is a chance that he does have a future in San Diego? And I know we've discussed the idea of him getting traded for a pitcher. I think that's definitely on the table. It could easily happen. But what do you think about him potentially like not having a spot and it's like no chance that he stays? Because I've heard a lot of people who kind of have that take on the situation.
I think there's a spot for him in the future. I mean, what's his ETA is supposed to be like 2025, 2026, I think. So by that time, Jake might be out the door. Ha-Seong Kim might be out the door. Like, there's definitely going to be a spot for him. Maybe not at shortstop. Maybe not even at second base. I'm not sure. But I don't know. I think with kind of the trades they've made, they traded away James Wood before Jackson Merrill, Mackenzie Gore, CJ Abrams. Like, these are guys that were very highly touted in the Padres system, and they ended up keeping Jackson Merrill. Now that could either be for a reason or that could be because the Nationals preferred Wood over Merrill, and we are going to do whatever it takes to get Juan Soto, because the odds of any of those players turning into Juan Soto are very minimal. So it makes all the sense in the world to trade those guys, but there's a reason they kept Jackson Merrill. I don't know what it is, but from the tools that we've seen, the things, the small clips that we've seen, and I don't like using these small clips as like the biggest indicator because they're only going to show us the good stuff. But he's looked fine. He looks good. Everyone talks him up. AJ Preller likes him. So there's definitely a spot for him. I just don't know where. I think it's more likely that the Padres are going to go look into the trade market. And I think he's available. I really think he's available. I mean, Xander Bogaerts, you signed him for 11 years, which is good because you were able to lower the AAV. Basically, I said this to Matt and Chase. I was like, for anyone who thinks it's a little bit of an overpay, it's Will Myers' contract plus another $5 million per year. That is not an overpay because you're getting a much better player than Will Myers. So that's a W. But you got a shortstop for 11 years. You probably will move him to second base eventually. I mean, I don't anticipate him playing shortstop for more than another 4 or 5 years. Fernando, you got him for another 12, 13 years, whatever it is. Jake Cronenworth is a shortstop if you do end up keeping him. Ha-Seong Kim is a shortstop if you do end up keeping him. I mean, there's just so many shortstops, and there's going to be more to come. He always drafts these shortstops, so there's going to be more to come. I do think there's a spot for Jackson Merrill, but I also do think like the Padres need a pitcher. They know how bad they need a pitcher. Bassett's off the market. Eovaldi is on the market. I saw someone bring up Ross Stripling. He's on the market. Cueto's on the market. There's some guys, but how confident are you in them being good again, or being that solid third, fourth guy, whatever it is? How confident are you in them lasting the whole season? You need depth. You don't really have depth right now. So not only do I feel you need a depth signing, but you need a for sure thing, a starter. And I feel like the Padres might look to the trade market to do that. And their biggest trade piece right now in terms of prospects is Jackson Merrill.
So I definitely agree with you in terms of like, is he available? Is he on the block in a sense? Because the Padres are kind of in a mentality right now where they're trying to get a lot of pieces to win right away. And they need a pitcher. They need a fourth starter. I don't think that they need to trade for a guy before the season starts, which I don't know. That's my kind of thought on it. I don't think you need, because like it is true. You're probably going to face injuries. You're probably going to need depth. I think if you sign a guy like Stripling, or we've brought up Wade Miley or someone like that, and then you have Nick Martinez start as your fifth starter, maybe Jay Groom pitches well in spring. Like, you don't need to have everyone ready to go to start the season. But come the trade deadline, if Jackson Merrill has another good year and there's a pitcher on the market that's on, some horrible team that they're going to trade him, but he's having a great season, that's the guy I think you could see the Padres end up kind of making a big swing for. Just because if you're able to win the guy who's already having a good year, I think that's what you want to do when you're win now mentality. Not go guy in spring, because a lot of pitchers go really up and down, especially in terms of like comparing it to position players. A lot of guys' arms are like up and down for I mean, not like the best of the best, but the guy are going to be available most likely. So I think it makes a little bit more sense to wait in terms of trading for a guy. But even with that said, if we're looking at Jackson Merrill specifically, he's going to be the highest piece in the Padres farm. Pretty much everyone's going to believe that, I think, right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe Dylan Lesko, but like, we got to come back from injury and everything first.
Yeah.
So they don't need to trade him in a sense of like, oh, he doesn't have a spot. Why? Because he's years old. He's not supposed to come up until 2025. Kim's a free agent next year. Cronenworth is a free in 2026. Usually when a lot of guys end up coming up, they come up because someone gets hurt. Like we saw this year, we saw come up, and in the Fernando Tatis situation, he ended up coming up because they're like, okay, he's just better than everyone else. We might as well bring him up to switch work because we don't have an answer there. But the Padres is like, might have a guy go down in the next few years, and that's when he would have an opportunity to up him up. And then you look and you go, okay, well, a lot of these guys aren't going to be there. Frank could play the outfield. So I don't think it's as simple as he doesn't spot, because I think it's way too early to tell with him. But I do easily think he could get traded. I just, they're in a spot where like they have to trade him, which is good. I think that gives you flexibility. But I don't think that they like have to trade him. I could see maybe like I mean, if Trent Grisham does all right in the first half, I could see something where you end up trading him with Trent Grisham and you go and get an arm. Like I could easily see that, but I just don't think they have to do it right now. So that's kind of my thought on him.
Yeah. Like I said, man, I feel like the only way you do trade Jackson Merrill is if you're going to get pitching. I mean, that's the biggest need for the Padres right now. I see people. I don't know if you're still on board with it. After signing Xander Bogaerts, I don't really want Arias. I don't think he should really be in consideration. Granted, he's a great average hitter. He's going to get on base. He's going to do great things for your lineup, but you need pitching, man. I mean, there's no way around it. You need pitching. Let's say you do trade for Arias. That doesn't take away the needs that you still have in terms of pitching and pitching depth in general. And then Jackson Merrill, he's the biggest trade piece. Let's say you trade Kim. Let's say you trade Kim. Then you have another need. Say you trade Grisham, you have another need. I mean, there's multiple things that the Padres could do. And that's why trading Jackson Merrill is probably the biggest probability when it comes to trading any of these guys because and don't get me wrong, I don't want to trade Jackson Merrill. I like Jackson Merrill. And wherever he goes, I think he'll be successful. I think he's going to be a great player. But in terms of the big league ball club, trading him gives us the best opportunity. We don't watch the big league ball. We don't watch the minor league ball clubs. We don't care if they win. That doesn't matter. I don't care. I want to see the big leaguers win, man. And if trading your number one prospect gives you that, then that's all that matters. I mean, I don't know what cheap contracts are out. Not cheap contracts, but solid contracts are out there right now. I know people talk about Corbin Burns, who's supposedly not available. People talk about Shane Bieber. I don't know if he's available. There's always some guy that AJ Preller knows about that we don't. But, we'll see how it all goes, man. I mean, like I said, if there's anyone that will be traded, I'd imagine it's Jackson Merrill first. And if you're going to trade any big leaguers, I'd assume Trent Grisham, Ha-Seong Kim, and maybe even Jay Cronenworth are on the table. But the first guy to go, I would assume, would be Jackson Merrill.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of legitimacy to that. I just feel like, I don't know, it's just one that I kind of want. I just feel like it's not like he's not closed out. Like, I don't think we have to look at it like that just because he's not going to play. He could very easily not start playing in MLB until both Jay Cronenworth and Ha-Seong Kim are not under contract. So to be like, Anthony's going to play on this team, I don't know. I just don't think it's going to be the case. But like you said, Isaac, I think it makes a lot of sense for the Padres to trade him with that set. So I agree with you there. But you bring up the pitching. You bring up that this team is – I believe this team needs 2 more starters. It seems like a rock with Nick Martinez as the 5 to start the year at this point just because they haven't got anyone. But basically the rumors are since signing Xander Bogaerts, the Padres are going to go after another solid bat and a solid arm. And then we saw Bob Melvin come out and they asked him who the best pitcher in the league was. And he says, yeah, Chris Bassett. I'm going to be a little bit biased here. That was Bob Melvin just screaming to ownership and AJ Preller, please go sign Chris Bassett. He doesn't ultimately end up getting signed with the Padres, but he's off the table, Senga's off the table. And all of a sudden, your starting options are getting kind of farther and farther down the board. A guy that Chase has brought up numerous times, Wade Miley. People are talked about Ross Stripling. Who else do we have? Who else is there? Eovaldi, of course. Eovaldi is probably the best arm remaining.
I think Eovaldi is a great option.
So do you think that the Padres are for sure going to at least sign one guy?
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty confident they're going to at least sign one guy. If they don't get Eovaldi, I think the next signing will be for depth, and I think they're going to go to the trade market for the pitching. I keep repeating myself, but truly, I think that's really the only option: Eovaldi, or you go to the trade market. And I think maybe they're a little hesitant because Eovaldi has the QO attached to him, the qualifying offer, which I believe takes away your 3rd and 6th. But like I said, like we don't care for the 3rd and the 6th. I don't care for it. So I do think those are your 2 best options. Maybe Ross Stripling, Wade Miley, whatever it is, the depth that you need. And I honestly, if we do get one of those and another starting pitcher, maybe you start the season with a 6-man rotation, seeing how well it worked for you last year. And it also depends because the only reason we went with the 6-man last year was because Darvish was great. Snell wasn't that hot, but he needed his innings. Musgrove was solid. Manaea was solid. Gore was solid. And Martinez was solid. So all 6 of them were really, really good. And that's the reason that we did it. Now, in order for us to do that again this year, 6 people will have to be really good. And I don't know if I'm confident in the Padres having 6 capable, good starters the way that they did last year. Now, I would love for them to do the 6-man rotation again. I truly do think that it helped the oldest guy in the rotation, Yu Darvish. I mean, he lasted all year and he was fantastic all year. He was so good. I think it was because he didn't have to pitch as often. So that was big for the Padres for sure. And yeah, that's all I can really think of in terms of starting pitching. It's interesting to see where they're gonna go. Yeah.
I mean, it's just one of those things where we look, it's like, okay, the team have started to win down where, I mean, what was it, 2 weeks? DeGrom would be a big. And we're like, and they of all, it would be a right there. And of course, that was expected to happen. But this is one where Padres, and that's the thing. I think you were bringing earlier about kind of all like being in on some random. I think where they're getting starters, but my thought is they need 2. Like I said earlier, I think sign one guy. They go spring training and but spring training and another and move this to this. They might train, have guys like Groom, someone like that, maybe like take over like a 5th or 6th. See how Nick Martinez looks stretched out, and then they might for some arm. They might wait and trade for someone during the regular season. But I think you're right. I think he's like 7 guys that you're confident in. Even is my today?
Yeah, it's cutting out pretty bad right now.
No, I have no. It's kind of starting to snow here. Maybe that's why. It's tripping on mine. Yeah, usually it's not that bad.
Usually Matt's like the guy that never lags. So I mean, we got to cut him a pass for right now. Yeah, we got to cut him a pass because normally he's pretty good. I wouldn't say I see a question. Are we out on Rodon? I wouldn't say we're out on Rodon. I would just say it's very unlikely. I hope I get proven wrong. I would love him. But he's kind of hard to gauge just because you would have to pay him a lot. You would have to give him like 6-7 years, and let's be real, his arm probably falls off in 3. So that's definitely a tough one to think about. As much as I like Rodon because of the talent, his arm is barbecue chicken, man. Fall off the bone after 3 years. So I mean, there's still good options out there. Rodon's the top one. Some big trade, some big market team, whether it be maybe not the Dodgers, they're having Bauer trouble, but whether it be the Yankees or maybe even the Rangers, they're gonna offer him that. So I would love Rodon, but the years and everything, it scares me. And the thing is, like, this is what I was thinking with Bogaerts too. 11 years, whatever, right? Who cares about the last 4 or 5 years? If you win a World Series, none of that matters anymore. You're signing them specifically for the next 4 to 6 years, your window. Hopefully that's your window. Who cares about the rest? Whatever happens, happens. If you win a World Series, that is all that matters. I will not care about him posting a 1 or 2 WAR in his last 5 years. I will not care because we already won a World Series. So, the pitching market's starting to get bleak, though. I'm kind of scared.
Dude, it is. And I think you're right about, I don't think they're going to go and sign him. Also, I don't really know. Like, I like the idea of adding him as a player, but do we really think that he's going to be able to be healthy, like, throughout a duration of a contract? No.
I'm telling you, go fall off the phone. I'm telling you.
Dude, I'm way more concerned with his ability to stay high than DeGrom's.
Yeah.
More concerned. He doesn't have a track record. Like, DeGrom misses like a few starts, but then DeGrom's still over 150 innings almost every single year. Like, Rodon, what I talk about is like, dude, he's had like 2 or 3 full seasons. He has not had many. So I think, I don't know. I don't really want Rodon. especially if he's getting like 7 years, like 25 plus million or something ridiculous. Yeah, the pitching market is weird though.
Yeah.
Manai gets 12, Senga gets 15. It is strange, dude. It was 2 for 25 from Manai, right?
Yeah, I definitely need to talk about Senga. I thought he was gonna get 20. Him getting 15, something's wrong. Something's wrong, right? Something's gotta be wrong.
It's got to be the health stuff. And that's got to
Yeah.
be the same reason that Rodon hasn't got signed, right? Like, those are the last two guys. Like, I mean,
Yeah. And
Bassett was a while, but Bassett was like not like a top of the line starter, you know?
yeah. Hmm.
So
Yeah,
it's
everyone
kind of viewed as potential there.
yeah. I mean, everyone knows what Bassett is, a solid 3 or 4. And he signed for more than that. um, but in terms of Senga, after seeing what everyone got, everyone thought, oh shit, Senga might get 20 million, right? Senga might get 20 million. He got 15 AAV. So, yes, we can look at, he throws 99. He has a ghost fork. He has this many pitches. I think what they're looking at is his arm. He's always injured. He's got a bad shoulder apparently. And I'm not trying to hate on the Mets, bro. Go do your thing. I mean, personally, I think the Mets team is almost the exact same, except 1.5 times or double the price. Um, but I'm not trying to hate. I'm not trying to be a hater. But yes, he throws hard. He has a nice little ghost fork, but shoulder issues and especially command issues with his fastball. Yes, you can throw 99, but if you can't locate it, it does not matter. Um, so I'm kind of thinking he went cheap for a reason. If he turns out to be great, good for the Mets. But if there wasn't another team willing to sign him for more than 15 million, that's a sign. I will say that is a sign. Something's got to be wrong there. Yeah, so that's all I have to say on Kodai Senga.
Dude, it's crazy because like you watch his pitches and they're disgusting.
They're nasty. Yeah, they're nasty.
I think it's got to be injury related, and that was the big thing. That everything that you would read, we talked about it. Like he got a lot of shoulder issues. He's really small.
Yeah, he's
People like I think someone said, what was it Pedro Martinez or someone like that? Someone that was small, like a pitcher that was great. Someone was like, well, he was small too. It's like, yeah, it's not him like not able to perform, not being a big guy. It's about him being healthy. And usually when teams are skeptical of signing players that have good stuff, especially pitchers, if you have good stuff as a pitcher, a lot of times, even if your numbers aren't that great, you end up getting a bigger deal because it's like, look what I can turn into this guy if he just had another pitch. Like his fastball is so nasty. If he just had a bout pitch, stuff like that. And then you see guys like, you remember Kirby Yates had like his resurgence with us where it's like, oh, let's just change the way you do this. And then boom, he's great. But if you're not healthy as a pitcher, you're pretty much worthless. And
Yep.
there's a lot of guys that you see, and a lot of pitchers get signed for these big deals, and they never produce. Like not like we're going all in, and like the back end of your contract you don't look good. No, it's like the guys will sign, and then they'll be good for like 1 year, if that, and then everything falls apart. I mean, especially in trades too. I mean, look at the Padres trade for Mike Clevenger. He's one of the better pitchers in the game. They get him, he gets hurt, then he comes back and he's a complete shell of himself. Like it's just rough. Like it's just rough, and you do end up seeing that a lot. So I don't know. I really think I don't know. I just don't really know what happened with him. So I don't know. Any other guys that you're thinking of that you really like on the market?
No, I'll have to take a look in terms of the pitching market. I don't really think we need to be in the hit. Oh wait, no, yeah, we do. Brandon Drury is obviously the guy that I really like. Depth, I don't really care who you get for depth. I mean, if it's Will Myers, it's Will Myers. Have mercy on me. But in terms of the pitching market, I will have to look into the pitching market because I mean, there's still got to be something out there that can be useful for the Padres, whether it's depth or whether it's as a fourth starter or a sixth starter, whatever you want to say. There's got to be something out there for the Padres. But AJ's always in the trade market, so definitely something to look out for there. Um, there's a few questions like how much of Senga's success will translate to MLB ball. I mean, I feel like as a pitcher, it's a little easier to come in and be successful from where'd he come from? Japan? I'm not entirely sure. I think Japan. I think it's a little easier. I mean, he's got nasty stuff, man. Really nasty stuff that I think will translate well to the MLB, but he can't locate his fastball. I mean, if your fastball is one of the worst fastballs in Japan, I can't imagine what it would be in the MLB. Um, but that ghost fork, I mean, everyone's going to talk about that one pitch. It's not worth 15 million. I mean, maybe it is worth 15 million, just the potential. Um, but I can tell you it's not worth much more than that.
Yeah, especially just because you can definitely see there's like red flags.
Yeah, definitely.
But he could also be really good.
Yeah.
I really believe it's more longevity stuff and maybe some consistency / command stuff. I see people. So this is probably the last pitcher I think that we could bring up for now, and then we'll kind of think about who else is there. We're also eventually going to talk about some options for the Padres as we kind of see what in with them at pitcher, because they're going to have to add at least one guy, probably two. But people are talking about Seth Lugo. I think that the Padres have to him a little bit. Do you like the idea of bringing in Seth Lugo?
It's a really good question, man. Um, strictly for depth. I mean, I keep talking about depth. It's got to happen, you know. We need somebody for depth, whether it be. And I mean, when you think about Seth Lugo, you think, all right, he pitched some. He pitched in long inning relief for the Mets, and he could be a starter. That is a mimic of Nick Martinez. A guy that can pitch some long inning relief and could start at the same time. That sounds like exactly like Nick Martinez. So I don't know if you want another guy like that. Jake, I promise you, dude, I'm not salty. I'm perfectly fine with the Mets getting Kodai Senga. I mean, I told you, what was their rotation last year? DeGrom, Scherzer, Bassett, Walker, Carrasco. Right now, it's Verlander, Scherzer, Senga, Quintana, Carrasco. What is there to be scared of? It's the exact same thing. They're mirror images of each other. Except I think Bassett's probably much better than Senga. Let him have him. I don't care. But in terms of Lugo, I mean, I don't mind it. I don't mind it too much at all.
You said it's like very Nick Martinez.
Yeah, that's
Like,
exactly what it is.
except he's a lefty.
Yeah.
I don't know. Many guys in long relief roles over the last few years, I feel like it doesn't end up mattering that much. Like, I don't know. It depends how much he costs too. That's the other thing. If he's kind of like a little bit, he's like 30. He's gonna be 33 next year. So
yeah.
What about being Eric Lauer back? Maybe he's been all right. I don't think he's that great, but another guy that you could like add as kind of a low end starter. I don't think it's gonna be hard to land lower end starter. I think there's so many different guys. Eovaldi's probably the best though, I'd say. Out of who's left. Of course, excluding Carlos Rodon.
Yeah, and from what I've seen, apparently AJ's been interested in Eovaldi before. I like Eovaldi, man. I've really liked Eovaldi ever since he came in relief in the World Series 2018, 2019, 2018 against the Dodgers. And he basically threw a complete game. I mean, he ended up losing the game, but he threw a complete game, only allowed one run. And it was a walk-off to Max Muncy. He pitched fantastic that game. So, I've liked Eovaldi. I think he's coming off an okay year last year. Pair him up with Ruben Niebla, man. I mean, the rotation was great with Niebla last year. And I keep saying it to Matt and Chase, at least. I think that, pair any one of these guys up with Ruben Niebla and they'll be good, whether it be, Jesus Luzardo or Cabrera from the Marlins, whatever it is, man. I mean, you need another starter. So I'm interested to see where they're going to go. And I'm hoping it's soon. I like answers soon, but I don't know how AJ Preller is going to work. Last year, Mania came like a week before the season. So
I was gonna say you say you want to assume, but we know how AJ Preller works, and usually like half of his trades in the offseason end up coming like one day before the season starts or 2 days before the season starts. So even though last year was kind of weird for that, but even in what was it 2015 when there was a bunch of trades right before the season started. So I really don't know what they're gonna do. It's so hard to gauge now, which is honestly fun because like we can just keep going. Okay, what about this guy? What about that guy? What about this guy? But one thing is for sure, I think they definitely got to get a lefty at some point. Whether that's as a reliever that can be like a long relief guy like Seth Lugo, and kind of start. I know they want him to be a starter, but I don't think I think he'd be like similar to Martinez. But last thing, tweeted or typed it up here earlier. Where was it? Talking about the Padres big marking. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is the last thing I got. Isaac, if you got anything else after this, we could have that too. But Stay Mass Fortis, a lot of credibles are saying the Padres are now a big market team. Yeah, dude. I don't think that the big market thing, I think it's unfair because if we're like, oh, who's a big market team? It's pretty much LA and New York. And maybe you could say the Bay Area, but like not really. And then it's like teams like the Cowboys are big market because they're like, they just have the fan base. But it's kind of made up in baseball. It's kind of just an excuse for to use a team as like cash flow, where it's like, yeah, the Pirates are small market. That's why they don't go after these guys. No, the Pirates suck because they don't spend any money and they don't try to keep any of their players. That's why that's the case. I don't think the Padres are necessarily like quote unquote big market, but they just have an owner that wants to spend and wants to win. And that basically turns into a big market team where I'm fully expecting them to be spending as much as the New York teams from here on out. So I definitely see what you're saying. In terms of spending money, I think they're going to be big spenders for a long, long time. And I think every single fan should be absolutely pumped that that's the case because you're lucky. You're really lucky if your team's able to do that in baseball because half the teams really don't try to win, which is crazy.
Yeah. Cody, we talked about Tatis earlier. So when we post this video, whenever it's done, I recommend going back. We basically just said there's no way Tatis is getting traded. Just to sum it up. But in terms of the Padres being a big market team, I would say no, they're not a big market team. They just have an owner that's willing to spend money. I mean, that's really all it is. Everyone, the Pirates, the the Rays, all these teams that aren't willing to spend money, it's just excuses. It's just excuses. That's really all it is. We're not a big market team. At one point, we were barely willing to spend $40 million with our previous whatever owner. So it's just a matter of Peter Seidler saying, "Hey, I mean, my net worth is $3 billion. I can't afford $300 million. I can't afford $250 million, wherever he's at right now." No, they're not a big market team. They just finally have an owner that's willing to spend money. You look at it, I can almost guarantee the Pirates owner, all these cheap owners, they probably hate AJ Preller right now. They probably also hate Steve Cohen right now because he just dropped $400 million on his team. And honestly, I think the Mets might spend a little more than that. Granted, I think Steve Cohen's net worth is $9 billion. I think from his firm he gets $9 billion of the 27 or something like that. So all these guys are worth, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, they're worth billions of dollars. They have a lot of money to spend. Some of these guys just aren't willing to spend it, and that's why their product is not good. Padres are, I mean, yeah, they're top 5 in attendance. They sell out. We had like the most sellouts this year or something like that. It's not that it's a big market, it's that Seidler is willing to spend like those big market teams. He wants to be, you know how bad he wants to beat the Dodgers. I mean, everyone knows how bad he wants to beat the Dodgers. His family has Dodger roots. And I'm actually kind of surprised that, he's with the Padres and wants to beat them so bad. But I love it. He wants to beat the Dodgers. He wants to compete with these big market teams. He wants his team to be noticed. And I mean, we notice it, but now the whole market, the whole MLB, all the media, they're starting to notice it too. So that's awesome. I think with more media coverage, with signing bigger names like Xander Bogaerts, having Fernando, trading for Juan Soto, and your first really stepping stone to success being Manny Machado, I think comes more media coverage, comes more revenue, more jersey sales. Like, so many good things come when you spend money. And the Padres, I mean, I feel like Peter Seidler's pockets are kind of seeing that.
Yeah, dude, I'm totally there with you. I mean, I'm pumped, dude. I mean, I'm coming back to Senga for a couple months in the summer just because I want to, hopefully watch some Padres baseball.
Yeah.
And it's this is the most anticipated season for a reason. Like, that's what you're starting to see is like the Padres are gonna keep spending, and they're gonna act like a big market team, whether they're, by the definition of a big market team, they aren't one. But they're keep spending, and they're gonna keep doing that. It's very clear what they want to do. And yeah, the tickets are definitely going up. The prices here are definitely going up. But I at the end of the day, you get to your Bogarts. Oh man. Then they get hyped over Everett Cabrera, right?
Oh man, we're done with those days. We're done with those days. Those days are over, luckily. Um, yeah, I mean, hopefully we got some hype soon, seeing who the Padres get in terms of the pitching market or hitting market. I'd love to have Drury back. I'm looking forward to seeing what they got, what AJ's got up his sleeve. I mean, there's always a guy that we don't know about. Beer is expensive. If you get there early, you get happy hour though. Take advantage of it. Oh wait, I think that's only going to be limited to season ticket members now. If it's not, go take advantage of it. Wilson Contreras is off the market, unfortunately. Um, but stay tuned. Keep tuning into us because I mean we love talking Padres to you guys, and we try and come up with good hypotheticals. We're probably going to try and think of a guy that's not on the market that might actually be on the market. Probably talk about that soon, but it's already a fun offseason seeing them drop $25 million a year on Xander Bogaerts, one of the best pure hitters in baseball. Don't worry about the last 5-6 years, whatever it is. Don't worry about how much money they're spending. Does it affect us a little bit? Yes, because it's going to increase prices in terms of tickets and beer, but it's not that bad. It's also not in terms of the money that they're spending on their team. Don't worry about it. It's not our money. So just looking forward to seeing what they have in store.
Yeah, I'm totally there with you. I think I'm gonna do it for tonight. I think we're gonna be back going live on Wednesday. That should be the plan. Just to kind of figure out with Chase what works with him. But we're hoping to kind of start going live a little bit more throughout the off season, and then keep clipping these videos up. As you guys weren't listening before, we talked about Tatis, we talked about Jackson Merrill, and then we talked about a lot of these starting pitching and also a couple bats and stuff like that. But mostly talking about kind of we about Yankees, like we said before, it's not happening, but we wanted to talk about that. Yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll hope to see you guys on Wednesday. So have a good night, and let's catch the rest of this Monday Night Football game. See you guys.